This phone is still one of the most interesting hidden gems on the market, or has it become one of the biggest flagship traps you can buy in 2026? With so many newer phones available, does Sony's Xperia 1 Mark V still deserve your money, or has time finally caught up with it? Before we dive in, if you enjoy honest long-term smartphone reviews without the marketing hype, hit that subscribe button. It really helps support the channel and lets me keep making videos like this. The Sony Xperia 1V, pronounced Xperia 1 Mark V, launched back in 2023 as Sony's premium flagship. Even today, it remains one of the most unique smartphones you can buy. Every time I pick it up, I'm reminded that not every flagship has to look like every other flagship. Sony stuck to its own formula, and I respect that. Let's start with the design, because this thing still feels premium. It's slim and lightweight at just 187 grams, with that signature tall 21:9 aspect ratio. Some people love it, others don't, but if you use your phone one-handed a lot, you'll probably appreciate how narrow it feels. The textured glass back adds grip, the ribbed aluminum frame feels fantastic, and you still get features most flagships have abandoned: a headphone jack, a microSD card slot, front-facing stereo speakers, and even a dedicated 2-stage camera shutter button. That's classic Sony. The display is another highlight. It's a 6.5-inch 4K OLED panel with a 120Hz refresh rate, and even in 2026, it still looks incredibly sharp. Watching movies or high-resolution YouTube videos on this screen is genuinely impressive. Colors can be tuned however you like, whether you prefer vibrant or natural, and with no notch or punch hole, you get a completely uninterrupted viewing experience. Once you get used to that clean screen, it's hard to go back. Performance is holding up surprisingly well. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 paired with 12GB of RAM is still a very capable chipset. Everyday tasks feel smooth, apps launch quickly, multitasking isn't an issue, and gaming performance remains excellent. Better yet, Sony finally solved the overheating complaints from previous generations. Long gaming sessions and extended 4K video recording are much more stable than before. Now let's talk cameras, because that's really why people buy an Xperia. Sony has always taken a different approach. Instead of relying heavily on AI processing like Samsung, Google, or Apple, Sony gives you the tools to create the photo yourself. Think of it like carrying a miniature alpha camera in your pocket. The upgraded 48MP main sensor captures natural-looking images with excellent dynamic range, and the larger sensor improves low-light performance compared to older Xperia models. Colors stay realistic instead of overly saturated, which photographers usually appreciate. Then there's the variable telephoto lens. Even today, very few smartphones offer true optical zoom that changes between 3.5x and 5.2x. It's genuinely cool technology. But here's the thing. If you're someone who just opens the camera, taps the shutter, and expects magic every time, Samsung, Pixel, or iPhone will usually give you a more polished result straight away. Sony's camera really shines when you're willing to slow down, adjust manual settings, shoot raw files, or experiment with focus peaking and manual exposure. That's exactly who this phone was built for. Video recording is equally impressive. Cinema Pro and Video Pro still offer professional-level controls that many creators love. Combined with excellent microphones and that dedicated shutter button, filming feels much closer to using an actual camera than a typical smartphone. Battery life, however, is probably the weakest part of the experience. Yes, there's a 5,000 mAh battery, but that beautiful 4K display demands a lot of power. It comfortably lasts a full day for moderate users, especially since standby drain is excellent. But compared to modern flagships in 2026, battery endurance simply isn't class-leading anymore. Charging isn't particularly exciting either. You get 30W wired charging and wireless charging, but both feel relatively slow by today's standards. Software is another area where the Xperia 1 Mark V has aged. Sony kept Android very close to stock, which still feels clean and fast. But software support was always disappointing. Major Android updates have already ended, and security support is essentially at the end of its life cycle in 2026. If years of guaranteed updates matter to you, that's definitely something to consider before buying. Now for the most important question, how much should you actually pay for this phone in 2026? This is where the Xperia 1 Mark V becomes much more interesting. Brand new units are still available through some online retailers and remaining offline inventory, but prices usually range between $650 and $800 depending on storage, condition, and seller. Meanwhile, the used market is where the real value is. Platforms like Swappa, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and local phone retailers often list good condition Xperia 1 Mark V units between $500 and $600, with some great deals occasionally dropping even lower. Recent market data shows used prices averaging around $556. Personally, I wouldn't pay close to $800 for a brand new unit when better supported phones exist around that price. But if you can find a clean used Xperia 1 Mark V for around $500 or less, it suddenly becomes a much more attractive purchase. You're getting flagship performance, one of the best displays ever put into a smartphone, expandable storage, a headphone jack, premium build quality, and camera features that still feel unique even today. So, is the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V still worth buying in 2026? I'd say yes, but only for the right person. If you're a photographer, videographer, Sony Alpha user, or someone who loves manual camera controls, this phone still offers something almost nobody else does. But if you simply want the smartest camera, longer software support, stronger battery life, and the best overall value, you'll probably be happier with newer alternatives like a Galaxy Ultra, Pixel Pro, or even a newer Xperia if your budget allows. The Xperia 1 Mark V remains a phone built for enthusiasts, not everyone. And honestly, that's exactly why it still has such a loyal fan base. If you found this review helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to support the channel. Thanks for so much watching, guys. See you next time.